Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is Thursday, the 13th of April. We hope you had a great holiday weekend, whatever you were celebrating. We hope it was peaceful and light and joyful. We are glad you're here today. We are going to be discussing deductions and how to put in benefit deductions and lightly talk about garnishments and 401ks and things like that. Charles is our expert in this field, and so he's going to be talking about that. But before we begin, we would like to highlight the PayrollCentric Presentations YouTube channel. That's a lot of words. Every time we record one of our webinars, we upload it to this channel. If you were to go to this channel, PayrollCentric Presentations 9488, you could subscribe to our channel, and then you will get notification of when we upload a new video. Sometimes it gets uploaded exactly at the same time I'm sending out the meeting invitation, and sometimes I upload it a little sooner. And once in a while, we have something that was not necessarily a webinar, but it was of interest and we would like you to see it. So subscribing to the YouTube channel is really a good idea. We promise not to send you spam. YouTube doesn't send you spam. They just let you know that a YouTube that you subscribe to is showing, and you can dismiss it from your phone if you would like. But we encourage you all to do that. So Charles, point to where the subscribe button is, please.
Right here.
There you go. And we're fans of it. We're proponents of it. We do these webinars to educate and inform and also sometimes entertain our clients. We love that you're here. We're so grateful that you've joined us. So Charles, would you like to take it away and talk about what we're here to talk about, deductions and dash? I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely. We're here to talk about deductions and dash. Speaking of the webinars, if you've noticed that we have put up the webinar from last week, which talked about 401k, and basically it talked about it from the provider viewpoint, the administrative viewpoint. What we're going to be talking about today is how to enter this in Dash and several other things. So I'm going to start off because I did make some screenshots of items that we typically run into. So we've talked about garnishments in the past, but I do want to reiterate what to do with garnishments. Usually what you do is you get three types. In California, you'll get this one right here, which is the income withholding for support. This is for child support, and it's one that you get from the California State Disbursement Unit, and that's also who you would remit them to. And this is the format that they come in. You'll get something like either an original, the amended, or termination are ones that you usually receive. And in there, they will give you information like how much is going to be withheld per month, but also how much per pay period, depending upon the pay period you have. So they've already calculated that for you. And then you also would receive something like this. This is what you would receive usually from a sheriff's office, right? And you would have a levying office file number. That's the number that is the reference number for these. On the state disbursement unit ones, it will say remittance order right there on that page that we just saw. But this one is the one where it tells you this is how much they owe, this is how much to, and you know, that if there's any interest or anything like that. And when you receive something like this, these are requirements. Okay, this is different than somebody coming up to you and saying, I would like to have some of my money withheld to pay for this particular item. This is one where it's no longer in the hands for the employee to negotiate. This is something that is required when you receive the notices. Now, an employee can still negotiate, but in the meantime, you have to put these into effect. And then the last one that that you might receive is from the Franchise Tax Board. I couldn't find an example online, but they typically are one of three types: Franchise Tax Board, Vehicle Registration Collections, and Court-Ordered Debt Collections. Each one of them goes to a different department in the Franchise Tax Board, and the formatting is roughly the same. The only difference is they have different types of reference numbers that are used. Okay, and so those are the ones that you would receive. Now, if we're going to do things like 401k, then I'm going to show you right here, we have these different types: 401k, 401k catch-up, which is for people who are over 50, Roth 401k, 401k loans, that's where you deduct from the employee for a loan they took out from the 401k. Then you can also have things like IRAs, simple Roth, and then other items like 403b, 457b. Those are still elective deferrals like 401k, but for specific reasons. They act the same, but it's safe, specific to a certain type of job classification and so forth. So going over that, then the other thing you would have is benefits. Now, benefits can be medical, dental, vision, um, FSA, HSA, any kind of those things. And they can come pre-tax or post-tax. The pre-tax ones are the ones where the employee gets a benefit from tax benefit. It lowers their taxable wages, so it lowers their tax liability. Post-tax does not do that. And how do you determine that? Your provider tells you which ones are pre-tax and post-tax, and then you would tell us. And they can be listed very distinctly beyond just medical, dental, and vision. You could have accident, hospital, ambulance, things like that. It just, your provider gives you the specifics, or you could just have a blanket medical benefit, depending on how your provider sets it up. Now, how do you enter this in our system? Well, you would give us the information to set up certain parts of it, like the code itself. So I go to company. Now, this is in the back end. This is not something that you would be doing, but I'm showing you this is what we would do here. Is you would let us know, I have a plan provider. They've given us pre-tax medical, dental, and vision. And I would just go in here in deductions, and I would set up the code, okay? Same thing with 401k or any kind of retirement. You would let us know, yeah, we have a 401k provider. They're offering Roth and they're offering the regular 401k, and we need to set up the codes. We would set them up here. We would make the codes before the regular 401k and for the Roth 401k. Do we make one for catch-up? It's not needed in our system, and because when you enter the birth date for an employee, when you add them and you enter the birth date, the system will recognize whether or not they're over 50 and allow the 401k to continue with the catch-up contribution. So you don't have to worry about that as long as you enter the birth date. If you don't enter the birth date, the system doesn't understand. And also with garnishments, we already have codes set up on our clients for garnishment and child support. We can add additional ones if it's necessary, and just go forward from there. And we can set up the calculation methods for them. So all you have to do is click a code, and that's it. And we'll get to that in a second. So right now you see that we have here, I'm going to scroll through and see if we have a medical. Okay. Okay. Well, we have this one right here that's called 125. What does that mean? 125 is the particular code, Internal Revenue Code, that governs medical plans. They're called cafeteria plans. Okay. And so anytime we have something that is pre-tax, it is a 125 code. There are some distinctions in them, like FSA or flexible spending accounts and HSA have specific requirements on them, so they may be a little bit adjusted, but they're still 125 codes. And so what we do there is, once it's set up in our system, we tell you that the code is available. You go to the employee, right? Say Raggedy Ann, and you go to their deductions under the payroll data, and you add the code. So we have one here that says medical. Well, let's say we're just adding this one, 125, and continue. And then we put in how much is withheld each pay period. So let's say this, for this plan, it's $125. Okay, and we hit save. And there it is. So it will withhold $125 every pay period. Now, let's say that you have a plan where you know how much is going to be withheld each month, right? But you're, say, on a biweekly frequency. How do you do that? We can set up a frequency under this right here. We can set up a frequency that will withhold on the first two pay period check dates in a month if you're on the biweekly payroll, because as you know, there's 26 pay periods on a biweekly frequency, which means there's 2 months out of the year where there are 3 paychecks. So we can set up a frequency that blocks it on that third one. So what would happen is you have 2 payments in the month, and then on the third, there is no payment made to the medical plan. So we can set that up if that is how your medical plan is handled. Otherwise, you just have, as in this case here, 125 every pay period. Now, let's say that we're doing 401k. So I'm going to click on Add, and I'm going to add the 401k. Now I select the code, and then I have here calculation code. I can do a percentage, right? So you have your employees, they don't give you a dollar amount. They say take out 5%. You can click on the calculation code and hit 5, and it takes out 5%. Now, along that is we can also set up a calculation code for a percentage of specific types of earnings, right? We call it eligible earnings. So if you have a 401k plan that says, oh, we're not including jury duty in here. So we can set up a calculation code that excludes that in the calculation. Otherwise, the percentage here will just use the gross. Okay. And let's say that we've received a child support order for this person. So we click on Add, and then we select the child support code, and we hit Continue. And it tells us for the pay frequency, it's going to be $50 every pay period. And then I select a calculation code. It's not listed here because we have the levy ones, but I would select the one that says child support. Or if they happen to have more than one child support order, which does happen, child support, I can set up a code for multiple child supports, which is calculated differently because they have to combine the total figure as not being over 50% of disposable wages for all child support garnishments. Okay, things like that. Now, these codes right here says minimum 15. That is for the California minimum wage as it was. You know, we have updated it for $15.50 for this year. It just still says minimum 15. The reason is because we had to set these up specifically because the federal minimum wage is about half of the California minimum wage, and that affects the calculation for these garnishments. And these are ones where it's like 25% of their wages. The ones that follow those guidelines, those are the ones you'll receive from the Franchise Tax Board, from the Sheriff's Department, things like that, where it's going to be a percentage normally. But you could have employees that don't make enough to do 25%. So there's 3 tiers involved. One where they don't have anything withheld because they're not making enough, and another one that is tied to the minimum wage. And that's where this comes in, because on those notices that you receive, they will say on it, applicable minimum wage. You can no longer use the federal because it's too low in California. So that's how you would set that up. Now, again, this is we don't have the correct calculation code for child support, but again, that tells you we can add it. We can set up calculation codes for any type of calculation you need for anything that you withhold. The further thing that we would do is we would attach the agency, so child support services, and we would enter in the miscellaneous info section the garnishment number, the reference number that the agency uses to identify what the payment is for. Now, what we are doing here is by doing this, we print the check for you and send it to you with your regular payroll. There's no more handwriting the agency check. We send you the check, you just shoot it off to the agency. Okay, and that is for the things like the garnishments. So it's like, I'll just put in here what came up and hit save. And there you have the 125, you have the 401k, you have the child support, which I use to explain the other garnishments. And so that is the basics. There's two steps involved. We set up the code. We set up also the agency, right? So you get an order, we need to know that information so we can make sure that we have the California State Disbursement Unit or the North Orange County Sheriff's Department levying officer, that kind of thing. We make sure that's set up. And then you can set up the garnishment on this garnishment or the deduction on your end by going here. It's basically as simple as selecting the code and entering the required information. And again, if you need assistance with any of that, not only will we be saving this webinar online, but you can always contact us with any particular question about that issue. So at this point, I'm open to any questions.
I don't see any in the chat, Charles. I think if you'd like, you can move on. One thing I would like to mention, though, we said this is the last time we talked about garnishments. This is nothing that you can put off until tomorrow. Garnishments are extremely serious, and it is very important that you act on them as soon as you receive that notice in the mail. If you send us a copy of the garnishment, we need every single page. And that way we know that we've done our part correctly, like when there is an end date and when they have hit the goal of garnishment that's to be paid, whether it be child support or taxes or whatever. We want to make sure that we do it accurately, and every single page of that order is important for us to have. So you can just scan it and send it to support@payrollcentric.com. Please don't forget to put your account number in the subject line of your emails. That way it gets sent to the proper person and your account is duly noted. So with that, is there anything else, Charles?
I didn't have anything else, just except to say that on some of those pages, when you receive these garnishments, I think there's a paper saving rules with some of these agencies. So they do them double-sided. So you want to make sure you get the second side, because sometimes we have received them and it's like, oh, the page that actually had the information has not been sent. And so, yes, you do want to make sure that you send every page double-sided, and that's fine. And again, if you also have a question on how to set this up in particular, not only will this be uploaded, but we are available either email or phone call to assist with that. But
that's right.
You do have these tools in here for your ease of use, and that's particularly important because, as Saundra said, there is a time frame on these items. Normally 401k or medical and dental, you have a period in which an enrollment period when they have to be put in, all these, and to try and fix it afterwards, like say too much is being withheld, too little when the plan changes over, can be a big hassle. So you want to get those taken care of right away. And then for garnishments and child support orders, they do say on it that you need to act and have this in place within a certain time frame from receiving the notices or from the date that's on the notices. So you don't want to wait until payroll to notify us. You would notify us as soon as you receive it. It's always better to do that.
Best practice.
Yes.
Well, I don't have any questions regarding this, but I do want to let you know that we do have 401k opportunities for you if your company is considering that. We have a referring partner from the gentleman who presented last week, as well as a couple of other people on our referral list. We are able, of course, to take care of the setup of the deduction. And PayrollCentric does offer benefits and workers' compensation. And in the benefit realm, we also use a program called EASE, where your open enrollments can be done online through the computer, and the employee can compare their benefit options side by side by using this program. If you are interested in that information, let me know. My email is in the chat, and I can refer you to the people who know more about it than I do. But there's definitely that option available to you as well. All right. Well, Charles, if you have nothing more on this topic, let me give you news and views and things to come. Are you good, Charles? Is it my
I
turn?
am good. It is
All
your turn.
right. Perfect. Next week, we're going to do a deep dive, and Charles is really good at tips and tricks and shortcuts. And I'm leaving it up to him to decide what reports he wants to highlight. But alternatively, I would like to leave it up to you too. Please send me an email if you have a specific report that you try to run every payroll and it causes you pain. We are going to try and eliminate that. He is going to be the salve that causes the pain to go away, and he's going to show you some really backstory and background tips on how to get things done more quickly and easier. That is one of our core values, is ease, and Charles is here to tell us how to do that. On April the 27th, one of my good friends, Amanda Leftman, she's a managing partner at Bourne, Osher, and Leftman. She is a labor law attorney, knows her stuff, and also she's fun, so it's not dry. You're going to have a good time while she does her presentation. We're going to be discussing arbitration agreements and separation agreements. They seem to be the hot topic these days in labor law, and so we thought we should highlight that for you. So if you're terminating somebody, or if you've got a dispute going on in your company, she will be able to assist you with doing it the right way and with the law in mind. So those are the two upcoming. And in May, one of my favorite people, his name's Brian Stampley. He's going to come and talk about small business loans and how to make the most out of your capital. That one, as well as Amanda's, you should probably forward the invitation to the owner of your company or the decision maker, the controller, the person who handles the cash. Those two will be of interest to them. Well, with that, everyone, I want to say thank you for joining us. We hope you have a fabulous day. And thanks for being part of our PayrollCentric family. We're going to be giving you back some time. How about that? Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you and goodbye for now.